Hey there, what's up? What's up, what's up, what's up? How's it going, everybody? Sean Terry here, Flip2Freedom.com, and we are on the first coaching call of 2017, and I'm ready to rock the house with you guys. So what's up? Sandra says, Happy New Year's. Happy New Year's, Sandra. Good, good. Roger says, let's make America great again this year. Yes, America will be great again. Roger. And I'm excited for that. We're going to have a good 2017. So, what's up, guys? Rashard, Happy New Year. Rashard, how's it going? Good. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Let's crush it. Cool. Gayan, Happy New Year, all. Woo. Queen. Cool. Guys are piling on. Cool. So what's up, Jay? What's up? Happy New Year, Randy. Happy New Year from Tampa. All right. So did you guys have a Happy New Year? Did you guys watch Mariah Carey completely bomb on New Year's? We were over at a friend's house, and all the kids are over there playing ping pong. We're playing, games and stuff. Playing what's that game? The beanbag toss, and got real competitive, having a good time. So we all went inside, had some champagne, toasted, and watched Mariah Carey just blow it. Yeah, that was pretty bad. So, anyways, other than that, I am pumped for 2017. This is the year of efficiency and profitability. How do you become more efficient in what you're doing? How do you become more profitable in what you're doing? And that is our theme, our focus, our mantra for 2017. Efficiency and profitability. Generate more profit. So everything we did our annual planning sessions, and you guys should all be doing that. Your annual basically meetings or annual planning sessions or annual so we do our Monday morning meetings, and we do quarterly meetings, and we do our annual meetings. So we had our annual meeting on the when was it last year? It was basically on the 28th, 29th, 30th, and it actually rolled into yesterday, the 4th, right? So it was pretty intense, and we went through all of our numbers. We rebuilt spreadsheets. We did everything. We looked at all of our expenses and what we needed and what we didn't need moving forward into 2017. We looked at all of our marketing channels, which produced the highest and best ROI. Where did we want to allocate the majority of our or a good percentage of our funds moving forward when it comes to marketing in 2017. So all those strategic things. So, spending time in the first, couple weeks of 2017 is critically important when looking back at 2016. So first off, you have to understand, where you are in the numbers, when it comes to the numbers you're tracking. And, and we look at, pretty much everything. And some key important numbers you might want to write down, you want to look at when you're analyzing 2016 is looking at cost per lead. Now, cost per lead is incredibly important. Now, cost per lead is your total marketing, right? Or your total leads divided into your total marketing. So, or vice versa, whatever it comes out. So the bottom line is you're looking for what does it cost on a per lead basis. So essentially, if you spend $10,000 and you get 50 leads, then your cost per lead, what is your cost per lead? Oh, let me see. Am I doing this wrong? So your cost per lead, so 10,000 divided by 50. Okay, 200. So it's basically $200 to 5. So I don't know what, my calculator was whacked. So anyway, so it's basically 200. Yeah, I know. $200, dumbass. Right? That's like, I'm sitting there going, wait. It kept on like giving me an error, and I was like, what the heck am I doing wrong? I just typed too fast and my fingers moved too quick. So I'm like, I know it's like around 200 or something. But anyway, see, the cool thing is, guys, what's great about it, and all you guys listening, right, is you don't have to be smart to do this, right? You got to do simple, basic math, and even if you can't do that, you can still make millions of dollars in this business, which is great. So, okay, so $200 cost per lead. Now, here's the deal: is that interesting enough? Is that several years ago, right? Even back in 2000, and I wasn't tracking in 2003, 2004, 2005, all that type of stuff. I never tracked cost per lead, cost per deal, anything like that. I didn't really start tracking those specific numbers until it was, probably 2010 is when I really started tracking numbers and really diving in and kind of figuring out how those numbers affect your bottom line ROI. So when we first started tracking it, we were getting cost per lead in the $80 to $90 range. So $80 to $90 range. And our average deal size was $10,000 to $12,000. So if you do those numbers, cost per lead 95, and then you're making $12,000 per deal, then your conversion rate is, it takes 15 leads to get a contract or 12 leads to get a contract. What happens is you find that you're making a ton of money. It's like money's coming in, and you have the ability to make mistakes, right? You can make mistakes where, you spend too much, and you're really not tracking, you're not maximizing ROI, and you screw up, and your conversions aren't great and stuff. When you have those type of numbers, it hides a lot of mistake because you're making so much money with those particular numbers. $95 cost per lead. You've got 12 to 15 leads to get a conversion, and your average deal size is about 12 or so bucks. $12,000 or so. So the bottom line is that as the competition increases, and as marketing becomes more expensive on a per channel basis, now some of you guys might not have to worry because you're in markets where you're getting cost per lead $50, $60. And I know some people, we sit on our boardroom trainings and our boardroom elite trainings. We're sitting in there and they're talking about their cost per lead, their cost per deal, their conversion ratio, their average deal size and stuff. And they look at those specific numbers, right? And I'm going, holy cow, they're getting a $75 cost per lead. They're getting, it takes them 12, leads to get a contract. Their average contract, we're talking like it's costing them a couple $1,000s to actually get a contract or under that number. And there's tons of money being made. So, but here's the deal: is that the more efficient you become on the converting those specific leads, and becoming efficient on your marketing, and becoming efficient on increasing your average deal size, what happens is it obviously increases your bottom line profitability number in your company. So looking into 2017, you got to look back at the current numbers, take those current numbers and project them into 2017 and see what you can do. What levers can you push in your current company when it comes to efficiency to drive the numbers down? So looking at our numbers, our cost per lead is about $370, right? Our cost per deal, right, is about $7,000 cost per deal. It jumped from $4,000 to $7,000, right? And which is amazing. And our average deal size is about $17,000. So our profitability, based upon marketing only, excluding payroll, excluding overhead, excluding any of that type of stuff, any other, expenses like, any of that other stuff, is roughly $10,000, right? $10,000 is the spread number roughly of a profit. So when we looked at our numbers going in the 16 and the 17, we realized that, we have to become more efficient when it comes to converting those particular leads, right? We have to become more efficient. We have to become more efficient in our marketing. And we found that of our marketing channels, direct mail actually produced a 216% ROI, and Google AdWords produced 126% ROI. So now, when you're looking at, the logical thing is to direct more money into direct mail, a higher percentage in direct mail, because the ROI at 216%, is better. Although when it comes to Google AdWords, our spreads were bigger, which is amazing. Now, the interesting thing too is there was triple the amount of leads with Google AdWords. Now, obviously, because we spent more on Google AdWords than we did in direct mail, but it was triple the amount of leads. So it's more burden on the staff to be able to produce that. So the bottom line is that really looking at your numbers. So what I've decided to do is because to really get into this is share with you guys, and this is, I'm going to do this on next Tuesday. And I'm going to do it in a format just like this. And I'm going to share with you our planning session numbers and everything like that for 2017. We've developed some new spreadsheets and stuff. We've, and there's two different things. There's you, right, as a person. Your thoughts, your current stories that you're telling yourself, your morning rituals, your business rituals, right? So there's you that is the part of the equation, actually 80% of that equation. And then there's the numbers, and then taking those numbers and projecting them into 2017, reverse engineering what your end goal is going to be, and reverse engineer it down to a specific focus in how many leads you have to have for a week, how many contracts do you have, and then looking at what profitability margin you want to be at, and then how to basically track those on a weekly basis. So, and I'll get to you guys, and I know you guys are asking questions, Elsa and Jay, Chuck, and those you guys ask. I'll get to your questions here when I'm done. I'll open it. I'll actually ask and open up for questions and be able to hand that for you. But I want to invite you to this training I'm doing. Here's the link right here. I'll give it to you. So there's the link. So register for that, and I'm going to basically go through pretty much everything. My not only personal planning of what I do from every single year that's been, it's been one of the biggest reasons for any type of success, is doing this practice, this ritual that I do every single year, and in a specific format, and then tie that in with reverse engineering your business down to a weekly number that you can focus on. So now, like I said, the mantra for 2017 is efficiency and profitability, right? So efficiency becomes how efficient, if you're a one-man show, are you converting deals and reducing that leads, right? So how many leads you get, right? And how many of those leads can you convert into contracts? That becomes efficiency, right? That becomes efficiency in how you handle the lead, how soon you call back the lead, how you you set up the appointment, the urgency you set up the appointment, how your tenacity on getting the contract, meaning a seller gives you an objection and says, oh, I want to think about it, or I'll sign it tomorrow, or I'll, I got 3 other investors I'm talking to, blah, 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 blah. So he says, ask your efficiency. Efficiency, and that's a good question. Efficiency is, and I'm talking about right now, is the efficiency on your ability to monetize every single lead to the highest and best ability. Because in this business, you have free deals, which come from, say, Craigslist, for sale by owners, comes from referrals, comes from the gamut, right? So there's free. And when it comes with free, those are gravy, but you cannot build a $100,000 a month or a multi-million-dollar business specifically off free deals like MLS. Like you can get deals off MLS, but it's difficult to build a lasting business. You need to have an influx of leads coming into your business every single week, every single month, every single year. So to be able to do that, right, we got to be more efficient. We got to be more efficient. And I can tell you honestly, in 2016, we were not efficient. We were not efficient at all. And the primary reason we weren't efficient is because of me, right? Because I took my eye off the ball and I was focused on doing apartments. I was focused on building boardroom, doing other things. And I took my eye off the ball. And the way I took my eye off the ball is by not specifically tracking, right? Basically our profitability number every single week. So the big takeaway for me, and I take full responsibility of it. I'm the one that screwed up, had nothing to do with my team. It had me focused. They're just blowing and going. I'm just blowing and going, right? And you can't really do that in business. And I should know better, right? I've been doing this for a long time. I should know better. But when you have, I launched, and there's, like I said, there's no excuse, but I spread myself too thin, I guess you could say. So going back and looking at specific numbers in 2016 and look what we did and everything like that, I realized that, the overall number is your profitability number, right? And a good, healthy company should be running at a 30% profit margin. So for every $100 that comes in, 70 goes out the door. It goes for taxes, it goes for marketing, it goes for payroll, it goes for overhead expenses, and that's 70%. My sound stopped. Is my sound okay? Can you guys? Nancy said my sound stopped. Can you guys hear me okay? Hopefully. Good. Oh, ta-da-da. It looks like my sound's going. Okay, your sound's back. Okay, sorry about that. There's probably internet going in and out and stuff like that. So anyway, so when it comes to, for me is cool. Everybody can hear me. Okay. So for me it's taking ownership. It's my business. It's my company. I can't spread myself too thin. Or if I am going to spread myself too thin and I'm going to focus on apartments and focus on building Flip2Freedom and focus on building, boredom and focus on building velocity capital and all those different levers, right, that are producing revenue from multiple different streams and do my own investments and stuff like that, is that I've got to be able to look at a specific number every single week and see if we are on track or off track. And that number is profitability, right? And then be able to incentivize my team in a way that is profitability driven. Meaning if all my team is focused on profitability, and I'm focused on profitability, then essentially that's going to move the number up, right? And if we're not focused on profitability, if I'm focused on profitability and they're focused on, just getting deals, then what happens is we're butting heads, right? Because I'm trying to reduce expenses and then have them try to get more deals. So we have a conflict of interest. So what we did, and I'm going to share on this event on the 10th, I'm going to share with you guys, is essentially what we did to modify our compensation plan, to modify our incentive plans, to drive a synergy between ownership and employee, right? So it puts our alignment together, and that becomes, it creates more efficiency in the company. That means is that if I have everyone aligned on profit versus just getting a deal, or just the bigger the spread, which is okay and stuff like that. But if everyone's devoted on profit, then when a lead comes in and the seller goes, oh, I want retail, instead of going, oh, you want retail and you don't want to spend the time on it, maybe not go out to the appointment, maybe not make an offer, maybe not offer some sort of deal where you can leave the existing loan in place and do that and stuff. Now it becomes, I want to maximize each deal, each lead I possibly can, because I know that if I take my conversion from 20 leads, and I'm going to show you a spreadsheet and stuff like this on Monday, that kind of basically, creates this lever of profitability. And it actually shows a profitability number and what happens to the profitability once you, toggle this number. And the number is the cost per lead. The cost per lead is one, of course, but that's a factor. But the one is conversion rate, right? How many leads you get per contract. So at 20 leads per contract, right? If you have 20 leads per contract, it takes 20 leads to get a contract, and your cost is $370 per lead. That's 70. Oops, there it goes again. See, my phone's off. I don't know what the deal is. So 370 times 20. So that's $7,400. $7,400 cost. Now, watch this. So, and that is with the number of 20. It takes 20 leads at $370 to get a contract, right? So that means it cost us it costs us $7,400 just to get a deal from a marketing source, right? From, specific marketing. And the 370, so you understand, is a blended. It's a blended rate between all of our marketing, from direct mail to we've done fast home offer, we've done Bing, we're doing all these different channels, and that's a blended rate of $370 per lead. So 370 times 20 equals essentially $7,400. Now, what if we get better at efficiency? What if we get a lead that comes in, says they want retail, and instead of kind of blowing them off, because what people say is very different in what they will do after you build rapport, after you educate them on the current market, after you make an offer, right? And after you find out their motivation. So a seller might say on the phone, I want $145,000. You may look on Zillow real quick, and the property is worth $138,000 to $145,000. You may, oh, they just want retail. I'm going to blow them off. I'm not going to put an emphasis. I'm not going to jump and go meet them. I'm not going to get in the car and drive an hour to go meet them because they want retail, right? Now that lead cost $370. So imagine if you had to write a check and I gave you a lead. What would you had to write me a check for $370 and then I gave you a lead. How would you handle that lead? Think about it. You write me a check for $370 and I give you a lead. You write me a check for $3,700, I give you 10 leads. How do you handle those leads? See, the problem, I'm going to tell you right now, the problem with having a staff, the good side of having a staff is you can work with them, it gives you freedom, it has, scalability, and you have a team, right? But the problem is the owner is cutting a check every single day for 10, 15, 20 leads at $370 at $100, even if it's $100, $150, $200. right? A lead, right? So 10 leads cost $2,500 at $250 a lead, right? So then now and then giving the lead, here's the lead, giving them to the employee that has no skin in the game and different. Now, if I went to each employee and I said, okay, I want you at the beginning of the week to cut me a check for $2,500 and I'm going to give you 10 leads, how do you think those 10 leads would be handled? Right? They would be all over it. When someone says they want retail and they look on Zillow, they're going to drive an hour and they're going to go out there and they're going to turn around and they're going to do whatever. And if the person wants retail, they're going to negotiate with them. They're going to find out their motivation. They're going to offer whatever they're going to offer, structure the deal in a way that makes sense. They can turn around and monetize that deal. Right? So it's a different mentality. So how do you, right? Basically an employee or a team member, staff member, whatever you want to call it, be vested in the cost of those deals. See, and like I said, on Monday, I'm doing this prosperity event here. And on Monday, I'm going to talk about how to tie them to profitability, right? How to tie them to the profitability and they're bonused on profitability. So meaning, guess what? If the company's not profitable, right, bonuses aren't paid, right? And I'm going to talk about some pretty cool stuff. Yeah, it's on Tuesday. Yeah. So the bottom line is that we've modified all of our all of our weekly spreadsheets, our scorecards, essentially, to reflect a moving ROI number, right? With a target of 30%. 30% target, and then we can watch our ROI number. And I'll show you how we tied to get essentially an employee vested where they have some skin in the game without having skin in the game, right? And that becomes the biggest challenge for I guess any entrepreneur, right? Because I mean, I've got my Amex card, and Google's hitting it, bam, 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 2 and 3 times a day, 500, 500, 500, 500, 1500, 500, 2000, hit it every single day, right? If I back charged them, right, for that, or had them cut me a check, there would be a different attitude on how that lead is handled, right? So it's an incredibly important where, and back to learning, and I got to be honest with you guys, I've been doing this since 2003. I really had a staff. I mean, we had one employee back in 2005 and 6 and stuff like that. But basically the employee, managed some calls for us and managed basically all of our rentals, because they had 120 rentals at that time, and that was a lot. So the bottom line is that I never really had employees till 2010. So for only 6 years, right? And before it was just me. And because I was writing a $100 check, a $200 check for leads, and I knew that if I got 10 leads for the week, it was going to cost me $2,000, and I had to pay $2,000 to get those leads, or I had to write a check for a direct mail for $5,000 to get those leads. I had a different mentality when it came to handling those leads. And as a one-man show, guess what? You can monetize. You can be more efficient because money's directly coming out of your pocket to make that happen. And there's a different attitude. So as I started to hire employees in 2010 and 2011, our cost per lead was low. $95, $100, $150, $20, so right there. That's a low cost per lead. So you make a $12,000 to $15,000 deal, and you pay $1,000 for the, for the particular, that deal. So your profit margin's $14,000 and you have a minimal overhead, right? And now you're running at a massive 40-50% profit margin. It covers up all errors. It covers up inefficiency. It covers up, because you got tons of money laying around, right? And and the learning process becomes, learning how to basically continue to thrive and prosper, right, and increase profitability in a market where leads triple, right, and still compete at the highest level. So that is a learning lesson, right, for me, and I'm ever learning and ever asking questions. So after we did all this planning, right, and we did this planning, we went through our numbers and stuff, and we looked at it, and we go, yeah, our profit margins aren't anywhere near where they should be. We didn't hit 30% profit margins because I took my eye off the ball. And like I said, it was my mistake, right, for doing that, but it ain't happening again. And the year before that, we blew our profit margins out of the water, right? So it was a learning year. And I believe that when you have a learning year like 2016, now Flip2Freedom was amazingly profitable. Obviously, the apartment stuff. So I have other businesses that was amazingly profitable, but I know some of you have, this is your only business. And if I can take my mistakes from 2016 of taking my eye off the ball, not looking at profitability, not being more efficient, not shifting the skin in the game to the employees, so we all have the same, where I'm just cutting checks and they're just getting free leads, and everybody, and there's no efficiency on it, and they let leads fall through the crack. These are things now that I've really dove into and said, how can I number one, become more profitable, right? And we got to be more efficient in doing it, number one. And number three is how, the other question, after you take the numbers and you figure it all out and you look at everything, how can I do my annual goal, right, in 6 months? And then just think about that. Think about it. How could you do your annual goal in 6 months? So let's brainstorm. I'm with you guys, right? Let's say your annual goal, and I'm just going to throw out a number, is $2 million, right? And we know that a cost per lead is, let's call it, I'll look at like an average cost per lead across the country is like $150. So cost per lead is $150. See, we can reverse engineer it, right? So if a cost per lead is $150, and it takes 15 leads to convert a deal. 15 leads to convert a deal. And I'm not talking about free marketing. I'm talking about specifically, and obviously you can make offers on Zillow, you can make offers on Craigslist, you can ask everybody for referrals. You can do all that, right? You can do all that type of stuff. So now if you look at, so the numbers are this: $150 cost per lead, takes 15 leads to generate a contract, and your average deal size is 12 grand. Okay, those are the numbers. So knowing those numbers, right, and we set an annual projected goal for 2 million, theoretically. So we take 2 million, well, first off we go, okay, how much is it cost per deal, right? Well, first off we take $2 million. So we got $2 million goal, right? And we're going to divide that by our 12,000. So we got to figure out how many deals we need. So $12,000 is our average deal size. So we take that, divide by 12,000, equals, so we need 167 leads. 167 deals. 167 deals is our total of how many deals we need to get if every deal was 12,000 and we wanted to generate 2 million, right? So Now we go, okay, what does it cost to generate a deal? So we take $150, right? Multiply that times 15 equals $2,250, right? Dollars per deal. Now, times that by 167, it's going to cost us $375,000, $375,750 to generate on paid marketing only. Now, could you get out of 167? Could you get 20 deals that that were from Craigslist, from MLS, from referral, from for sale by owner, from for rent signs that you're driving around? Could that happen? Absolutely. Could you get 20 deals? Yes, of course. But I'm not going to factor that in. That will reduce your marketing cost and still hit a target of 167. So you would need paid marketing at 147 instead of paid marketing at 167 to hit an annual goal of 2 million. Does that make sense? So I'm going to take that out of the equation. I consider that gravy. We look at JV deals. We look at all this stuff as like gravy. We do our projections off what we can control off the marketing. Okay. So what is that ROI, right? So we've got 2 million minus 375 divided by 375. Oops, that didn't work. So 2 million minus 375 equals 1.6 million divided by 375. It's basically 433% ROI. So 433% ROI. Okay, so Rashard's asking, can you quickly go through the formula again? So here's the deal. We have to have the numbers first. So first off, guys, a learning thing on this is you got to track your numbers, right? Going forward, if you don't know your numbers for 2016, that's okay. Make it a point from today that you're going to make a commitment from January 4th, 2017, that you're going to make a commitment and you're going to track all your numbers, because the key numbers you need to know is what's your average deal size, what is your cost per lead, and now here's a definition of a lead. So we're all on the same page, right? Definition. A lead is is not the amount of calls that come in. So when you drop 10,000 mailers, you're going to have 100 calls. 20, 30 of them are going to say, take me off your list, screw you, whatever. You're going to have 70 left. Out of those 70 left, right? Those are going to be your 70 leads. Those are the leads that go in the Podio. So that's essentially the lead amount, not the call. So you're not basing off the 100 that call. You're basing on the actual 70 that are potential leads that you're going to work with. So just so we understand that. So here's the numbers. The numbers is $12,000 per deal. 15. It takes 15 leads to convert to a contract. 15 leads per contract is what it's called. And your cost per deal is $150. So that's the numbers, and let's say those are your numbers. And our goal is $2 million. How do we reverse engineer it? 167 deals at $12,000, right? And you multiply that times 2250, which is the actual cost per deal, which is the 375, right? So that's 375, essentially $1,000 that it's going to cost us to be able to do that, right? Now the question is like, we're going to say, okay, well, how many leads, right? So we need, how many leads does it take to get that many contracts? So we take now 167, right? And we multiply that times 15, because it takes us 15 leads to get a contract. So we need 2,505. Yep. How many do you need to generate? 2,505 NA to make, that's not the 500K. So that's 2,505 leads, 2,505 leads, right, that it's going to take. Now, you go, okay, that's annually. That's how many leads you're going to make annually to be able to make. Okay, How do you generate 225s in a market of only 500,000 people? You go in different markets. That's it, right? You target other markets. You have to. You do as many as you can do in one market, and then now you do virtual wholesaling in other different markets. You generate leads in other different markets. That's it. If I didn't have the ability, if I lived in a market of 500,000 people, I would get as many leads as I possibly could in my current market, and then it would force me to go outside in other markets across the country, and then be able to virtual wholesale in other markets across the country. That's the only thing you do. Or you move, right? Move to Miami, or move to Arizona, or move to Nevada, or move to a city that you can generate those type of leads. Now, the great thing about this business is you can do it virtually very easily, because we have Facebook, which is great. You have all these like Flip2Freedom Academy Facebook group. There's people from every different market, major markets across the country. You want to do deals in Chicago? Guess what? There's people doing deals in Chicago, and you can start dropping some marketing in Chicago. You could partner with another wholesaler there in that particular market, and negotiate some sort of deal split, and you'll be good to go. So anyway, so 2,500. Oops, 2505. 2505, right? 2505 is our annual number. Now we break it down by a week, so we're going to divide by 52 weeks in a year, and basically we need 48.17 leads, right? Let's call it 50 to make it easy. So we need 50 leads a week to hit our annual goal. So now you look at your marketing channels and you go, okay, what marketing channels, right? What marketing channels that can produce each a week? Well, I can get 10 leads from Google a week, okay, and I can get, I can personally do 10 self-generated leads from for sale by owners, referrals, or whatever, and so that's 20. So I need 30 leads from direct mail. So now you can deploy the right amount of direct mail. That's where you understand your response rate. What's your response rate? How many calls, how many leads do you get on a particular mailer? And you might get 30 leads from sending 10,000 mailers. You might get 30 leads from sending 5,000 mailers. Those are more numbers you need to know, right? So then you can now gauge that I'm going to send this much direct mail that gets this many leads. I'm going to get this many from Google on average, and I'm going to get this many self-generated to produce 50 leads a week, right? So 50 leads a week. Now, back to my question. What would it take to do your annual goal, 2 million, in 6 months? Right? Knowing what we know now. So that's the question I asked my team. What would it take to get our annual goal in 6 months? What would it take? Doing exactly what we're doing. Not increasing marketing, not increasing leads, first off, we could do it by increasing, or we could do it by not increasing, right? We could do it by just changing the numbers. So what if we could, out of those 50 leads, what if we could go from 15 to 10? Now, Carl here says double it, right? So do 100 leads, right? But now you're going to be paying for 100 leads. Now you got coming in. So now it's a direct cost. Now you're talking about $750,000 spending on marketing. But Carl, and I would say double it too, Carl, would be my thing. But what if you couldn't double it? What if you had to do your annual goal in 6 months, but you had to do it with the same leads? What would you do? Now, asking questions. I love asking questions like that, right? Because it gets you thinking, right? What would you do? What would you guys do? So Amber says conversion. Richard says converting more leads into deals. Okay, this is from Monica. Monica says, what if you're just starting out and you don't know your deals and don't know your numbers? That's okay. That's okay. What you do, Monica, is you use a baseline. Take $10,000, an average cost per lead 100, and a conversion rate of about 25. That's your numbers, okay? So better sales, Dan says. Close more leads, Dan says. Increase your spread. Yep. Strong follow-up on leads. That means you get more deals per leads, right? Creative deals, I like that. Increase the amount of free leads, absolutely. Right. So when we asked this question, and I said, how would we do our annual goal in 6 months without spending any more time on marketing? What would we have to do? And we started exploring different ideas to monetize. That means, doing $2 million, right? So partner with wholesalers, cut your conversion rate in half and generate larger deals. Absolutely, Peter. Move into a new niche, possibly. That might work. Duplicate your efforts. You can duplicate your efforts, but it's obviously it's going to cost. So the question becomes, how can you take your annual goal, do it in 6 months without spending any more money on marketing? So we're getting 50 leads a week, right? And that's what we're basically 375,000. So we don't want to spend any more on marketing, but we want to double our business in 6 months instead of doing it in a year. Larger spreads. Okay, so let's talk about that. Okay, so Michael says larger spreads. So our spread that we have is 12,000. So let's explore that, Michael. Okay, so everyone here you see on the chat here, Michael says larger spread. So let's take that, and that's a rabbit hole we could go down, and it's a rabbit hole we did go down. So we talk about larger spreads. So let's talk about larger spreads. What would it take to get larger spreads? So from 12,000 to $24,000 a spread, right? What do you think? Drive around and get your own leads? I don't want to be driving all over the place, but the guys are driving, and so possibly. So let's talk about, because there's 3 numbers that really impact this question, right? And each one of them, you can go down a rabbit hole for each one of them. So the one of them, Michael said, was increase your spreads, right? So increasing spreads. So, if we're going to increase our spreads, what can we do to increase our spreads? Well, first off, understanding that a spread, right, is our mentality. So what if, Michael, and all you guys, talking here, what if we determined, and for people that don't know your numbers, this is so important for you going into 2017 to dial in your numbers. Know those 3 numbers inside and out, backwards, and know your conversion numbers on your marketing. You have to know the numbers, because next year, 2018, when you're going to go back to 2017, and you're going to be so glad that you knew your numbers going into it. But let's say let's say you do know your numbers, and we're going into this thing. But you look at your deals from the previous year. You might have done 10 deals, 20 deals, 50 deals, 100 deals, whatever the number is, right? So you look at your deals from the previous year, and you go, okay, what were my highest profitable deals? And you look at the deals that you made. I mean, we made deals. We're closing a deal today. It's a $34,000 deal, right? We got closed deals last week that are 25, 15, 18, 25, 30,000. We closed $80,000 deals, $60,000. So what if you can analyze your deals that were the big deals, the bigger spreads? What if you did that? And what if you focused your concentrated efforts of marketing on those particular avatar of deals? Could that work, right? That's another question. So analyzing all the deals that you did for the previous year, figuring out which deals you made, essentially in this case, 25,000, 24,000 or more based upon our theoretical example. And then taking that and then targeting only those particular properties and only those centers. So you look at the owner. How long did they own the property? They look at the house. How old was the house? Did it have deferred maintenance? Look at the zip code. Look at the area. Look at where it was, right? And look at the situation. Was the owner was it a foreclosure? Was it a probate? What was the situation with that? And you look at all those factors and you say, hey, right, can I duplicate this over and over and over and over and over again, right? Instead of just throwing marketing, I'm going to pull lists, I'm going to throw marketing out there. Now I'm going to strategically deploy marketing to this subset of people in my market that we've generated deals over $25,000, right? That could double. Now it's also having a mentality of going in and instead of offering 17,000, 15,000 a deal, you offer, you put your offer amount, because who controls the offer amount? Right? You control the offer amount. You control it. You control your spread. So if you have a seller and a seller wants to sell, right? And they say, hey, make me an offer. You can make an offer with a built-in spread of $10,000. Or you can make an offer of a built-in spread for $30,000. The only difference is you. Because remember I said there's a mental side of the business and reverse engineering? Well, your mental ties huge into this side of the analytics of the business, right? If you go on appointments and you only build a $10,000 spread, then you're only going to make $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 by the time you guys closing costs and fees. It's going to happen. But if you go outside and you mentally make a shift that we're going to go out and we're going to hit $30,000 spreads, guess what? Then you start having $30,000 spreads. So Anthony's asking, he's having trouble analyzing. Can you break down the process? I'm going to do break down this whole thing with numbers and spreadsheets and blah, 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 all this stuff and your side. I'm going to do that on Monday. So register for that link I sent you on Monday. That'll help you. We'll go into it a lot more. We'll have conversations like this, but I'll break it down and kind of show you on screen of what the deal is. Anyway, so the bottom line is, to go back to Michael. Michael said larger spreads, right? So that could be an angle. That's one idea, right? To look at all the data, figure out the deals you did over $20,000, and then turn around. Now, is it possible to go into list source, right? And list source is where you can pull lists, you can pull data and stuff like that. Is it possible that you could go in to list source and pull all the houses that traded in the last 12 months at 50 cents on the dollar? I don't know. I haven't looked at it, but I think you can, right? I think you can do that. But then you can analyze those deals, the houses that traded at 50 cents on the dollar, and analyze the analytics behind those particular houses, figuring out, what the age of the house is and all that type of stuff, and then trying to put it into a trend to target if you don't have that data. Peter said larger spreads, less deals. Well, no, I'm talking about, in the question, Peter, it was, our annual goal is 2 million, it was a theoretical example we talked about in this theoretical example of a $2 million annual goal. Ours is much larger than that. So 2 million goal. So 2 million. And the question becomes, how can you do it in 6 months, right? Without spending any more money on marketing. Well, one of it, instead of having a $12,000 spread, you have a $24,000 spread. That would get you to your goal. You're still going to do 167 deals, but instead of 167 at 12,000, you're going to do 167 at 24,000, right? And there's two sides of the coin. There's the particular property, right? And then there's the mentality of actually going and asking for that spread. Now, that's one idea that we could talk about. And that's something that we can implement as in our business to do that. The second one we can talk about is what about sector? Is it possible to get bigger spreads, right? Bigger spreads, is it possible? Yeah. Is it possible to get bigger spreads from different sectors of the market. So what if you branched out into multifamily? What if you branched out into commercial, right? And you wholesale commercial properties, and you wholesale multifamily properties. Now, could you make $100,000 on a multifamily? We flipped the apartment complex and made multiple six figures on the property. So the bottom line is, could you do that? Yeah, could you turn around and be able to do that? Absolutely. In the higher sectors, bigger numbers, bigger spreads, more sophistication, but you could be able to, which would increase your average deal size for those particular ones. Those are another ideas. Now, the other question is the 15, right? It takes 15 leads to get a contract. What can we do with that 15? Right? We could get better conversions. We could, on those 15, we could offer seller finance deals of those 15 and maybe get it down to 10 or 12. But basically, we'd have to get it down to 7 to double our revenue in 6 months without spending any more marketing. So we'd have to go from 15 to 7. So the question becomes, how do I get my conversions from 15 to 7? So those are questions. How do you get 15 to 7? Well, offer different deals. Instead of looking for the wholesale deal, you can do seller financing. You can do wraps. You can do lease options, right? And that could generate some spreads. You could convert it into a listing and have a realtor that does a listing that could generate revenue. So if you could go from 15 down to 7, you could essentially take your $2 million goal and put it in 6 months by monetizing each lead in a way that generates revenue. There's some more. On tour income formula, reserves income, you have 5% profit, 25% personal. What's the difference between these two accounts? 25, and those numbers are examples of deploying money, right? To, if you need 25% to live and you make $100,000 a month and you got $30,000 of essentially profit, and you need $25,000 to live, then you can put it in that. Or you put the 25% into your personal account, and then you take a percentage of that and reinvest it. So the bottom line is you got 30% profit. The question is, how are you going to allocate it? If you could put 20% into a profit account, 10% into a personal pay account, if you want. So, okay, this is Michael. I got a pre-foreclosure 57,000, make 10K on it. Did another for 16.5 earlier this year. Changed my life. Thank you. Yeah, cool. That's awesome. No problem, Michael. Thanks. That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. So huge. Made about $26,000. I mean, think about. I mean, if you just think about that, what would it take on your current job to make $26,000 as a raise, right? As a raise, and just doing this part time, it's great. Yeah. So those are the three numbers. So you've got profit per deal, you've got leads per contract, so going 12, and then you get cost per lead. That's another rabbit hole that we can talk about. So cost per lead, how can you go from, say 150 to 75, right? That's where, and the thing is, the idea of these questions is to start thinking crazy, stupid stuff, right? Because I believe if you just start thinking and you start writing down all these different, so we have a big, I'll show you my whiteboard right here. So we have a big, see a big whiteboard right there? We got all these different whiteboards and our numbers and our things. So basically what we do is we we have the whiteboard up there, and we start going brainstorming. What if we did X? And you ask the question, what would it take to reduce our cost per lead to, instead of 370, how could we get it down to 200? And then we just start writing up ideas on the board, even if they're crazy, even if they're stupid, even if they're insane, even if whatever. We throw them up on the board because you never know what's going to happen, right? And out of stupid ideas come great ideas. But if you brainstorm and everybody brainstorms, then you come up with different ideas that you could be able to do that. What's the best list source by pre-foreclosures? Yes. For people that are wondering how direct mail, right, you're going to target. And I talk about this, and this is a big question. Michael Mattis quit his job. Congratulations. See, that's a great feeling, man. And it's a great feeling because now you're working for yourself. It's scary. I get it. But you're like, oh, my gosh. But it's awesome, right? Um, 12K formula is completely updated. I mean, that system works incredibly well. There's nothing new I would add to it. It tells you how to get deals, how to get contracts, how to talk to sellers, how to negotiate. Just continue doing what exactly it says in there. There's no need for updating in that whatsoever. That was just completely freshly updated in 2016, literally at almost the end of 2016. So there is absolutely nothing I would update in that course. So someone said, what's the best lead source, when it lists in list source to buy pre-foreclosures? Where is the best source to buy pre-foreclosures? List source is where I buy pre-foreclosures. List source is where I buy. Listsource.com. When starting out, right? And this also talks about this in the 12K in 37 days. Is there's two buckets that you could target for direct mail. One bucket is distressed, and distressed is tax default, which I show you in Regal Gateway. Vacant properties, pre-foreclosures that Steve is talking about. You got pre-foreclosures, you've got, what else you got? Probate deals, you got fire damage deals. You have a distress bucket, and you want to hit, when you're starting out, you want to pick one, whether it be tax default, pre-foreclosure, whatever, but eventually you want to hit all of them every month, all the time. And that's a consistent. Now you want to branch out and you want to start hitting to expand your marketing. So for an example, there's only 2,000 of these distressed leads in Phoenix, Arizona at any one time, 2,000. Well, 2,000 direct mail pieces a month was not going to get us to $100,000, $150,000 a month in revenue, or 200,000 or 300,000 a month in revenue. So we have to go to the other list, right? Which is absentee owners and owner occupants. And in that bucket right there, that bucket, there's hundreds of thousands of names. So what we do is we hit this bucket every single month of distress, and we hit this bucket all the time, every single week, with that to increase our numbers, to get our numbers to where we need to be for our goal. What would I do with a profit account? Profit account, I would invest into, what would I do? Invest into cash flow producing properties. 3-plex, 4-plex, 12-plex, and that's what I'm looking right now for, large 100-unit apartment complexes to put money in. So you take the profit accounts, right? You have fun with a little bit, go to a vacation, you do whatever, or something like that. But then you take the majority of it and you put it in cash flow property. So think about this. If you had 1,000 units, 1,000, let's say the goal, right? Part of this goal is 1,000 units. right? And you want to get 1,000, 10,000, does it again, 1,000 units. And let's say you averaged times $200 you made as net cash flow to you. So you got a check in the mail for $200 from your management company. $200 times so that would be your monthly, right? $200 a month off each unit, and you made $200 net to you. That means you got a check every month, and you owned 1,000 units. Now, you could own those 1,000 units with partners. You could own them by yourself. You could take, so Anwar, you take that profit account, you stuff that money in that profit account, and then you reinvest it, and you're looking for this. You're looking for this cash flow. So, and it might be 100 unit, might be 50 units, 60 unit, 12 unit, whatever the case may be, but you're looking for that. So think about this. Let's say it takes you 5 years you take your profit account and you stuff it into cash flow properties. And it takes you 5 years to get 1,000 units, divided by 5. So you're basically picking up 200 units a year, right? In 5 years, what if you had a monthly income without ever sending direct mail, without ever sending AdWords, without having employees, without having a staff, without having an office, without having a team, without doing anything. But in 5 years, you had $200,000 of income every single month, whether you get out of bed or not. What would that do for you? What would that do for you? So the question is, you take that profit account and you deploy it into properties that produce cash flow, where you can make $100 to $200 a month. And I like multifamily, large multifamily projects, because you can get professional management to manage those properties for you. How much money equity? It depends. You know what I mean? If you have 1,000 units, now let's Tony asked, is this his question? So let's say it's a 5-year goal, right? And you have 1,000 units theoretically, and each unit costs $50,000. Okay, so that's basically $500 million portfolio. $500 million portfolio. Now, at times 15%. So that's $75 million in equity. Now, Tony, do you have to raise 75? I mean, do you have to save in your equity account $75 million in equity? No, right? That's what syndications are for. Syndication is where you put in 100,000, 150,000 in a particular property. So let's say you have a 200 unit. Let's break it down. You want to get 200 units a year, right? So you want to get 200 units a year, right? Times 50,000. So that's a $10 million purchase, and you need 15% equity times 15% equals, you need 1.5 million. On a 1.5 million, you could do a syndication, Tony. And you could do, basically, you can break it up in shares. So you're looking for, divided by 50 people, that's all going to put in $30,000. So you need 50 people to put in $30,000 to essentially acquire. So what if you did at 1.5 million, but the minimum investment was divided by 100 is 100,000. Now you need 15 people that's going to put 100,000. So you put in 100,000, which is going to come from your profit account. You put in 100,000, and now you get 14 more people to put in 100,000, and now you've raised enough equity to buy a $10 million cash flow property, where you, as one of the operators and the syndicator and the one that found the property and it's going to put the management in place, you're the operator, can get $100 to $200 per month of cash flow on those properties. And that's something you build. And now you're operating. So what your goal is to increase your rents, right? Increase your, return on investment, right? And 2 or 3 years down the road, refinance out, or maybe even a year down the road, depending. I look for properties that can do what's called micro repositions. Basically, where I can take a 100 unit or 200 unit apartment complex, I can put in stackable washers and dryers, and I can charge $50 a unit. 200 times $50 a month is $10,000 times 12 months, $120,000, right? And I divide that by a 6 cap. I just increased profit. I just increased value on that property by $2 million. So $120,000, right, is basically from adding stackable washer and dryers. $120,000, right, a year divided by 6% is basically a 6 cap. I just added $2 million of value. So you find properties where you can do what's called micro repositioning. You could put covered parking. You could put LED lights in the whole place and reduce the electrical cost in the place. You could do what's called rubs, which basically is you take the electrical and all the utilities and then you syndicate it or basically distribute it to all the tenants in the property. You could reduce the air conditioning bills. You could reduce the and any of the expenses and increase the income. That's the goal. To look at a property where it has potential to reduce the expenses, increase the income. And then now you can do micro repositions on this property. Now a year down the road, 18 months down the road, 2 years down the road, you do a refinance on the property. You pull out a huge chunk of equity. You pay your investors back their return on investment, right? And you increase your revenue. So, you know what I mean? And now you hang on to the property and you have those investors now that are happy. You go find another property, with them, and you raise another, you got a $10 million purchase and do it. So what if you did that over the course of 5 years, right? And you bought 200 units a year, and you basically saved $100,000 of your net profit from your company. That we're talking efficiency and profit, and then you deployed it into these apartment complexes that you owned, right? And then you turn around, and after 5 years, you have 1,000 units. They're making you an average of $100 to $200 a unit. And you're making $100,000 to $100,000 a month, and your total invested capital after 5 years is $100,000. And because you're doing refinances, that money's going to come back. And because you're the operator, you found the property, you get an acquisition fee at the front end of it. Do you know what the acquisition fee typically on a $10 million purchase is like that? It's typically anywhere from 2 to 3%. So you can charge an acquisition fee to the partnership of 2%, $200,000. So not only you put $100,000 in, but you get $200,000. I know people that do that where they use the acquisition fee as their invested capital to buy shares in the company. So now, how much is out of their pocket? Zero. They do the micro reposition on the property. They do, I'm telling you, it's Tony. It's 100% doable. 100% doable, and you can definitely do that. What is this? Do that. So this is Tony. What professionals I need in my team if I want to do a syndication deal? How much upfront cost I put in syndication plan? I can connect you, Tony, with a guy who does our syndications. His name's Joel Block. Joel Block. He's one that basically taught it. But basically, a syndication will cost you $15-20 for a syndication to put it together, and plus you need the earnest money to secure the property. Say if you do $100,000. So on a $10 million purchase, you probably put $100,000 down on that for that. But those that comes back in the purchase through the syndication. Yeah, it's definitely very possible to make $100K a year, and it's definitely possible to make $100,000 a month. I mean, depending on what you're aiming for, in the business. So. So. All right, I am going to encourage you guys to register for that right there, the prosperity project that we're doing. And I'm going to go a lot more in detail on this stuff. We're going to be on a call just like this, but I'll share spreadsheets and some cool things because, like I said, there's two sides of the coin. Okay, this is okay. So I followed everything in 12K form for the last 6 months and no deals, paid for marketing and still no deals, limited funds on marketing budget. What is your suggestion on obtaining one deal, 15 deals in the next 6 months? Okay, so it's MJ Solomon on there, MJ Solomon. So if it's not working for somebody, there's two things that I do if it's not working for somebody. So let's say you followed it, I've done everything, I've done the marketing, I've done this, I've done everything. What happens if it's not working? You got to look at, there's two things to look at. One is the analytics. So, how many mail pieces did you mail? How many appointments did you go on? How many offers did you make? What were the offers, right? And how did you make the offers? So you got to look at the analytics. What mail pieces did you send? How many calls did you get? How many appointments did you make? How many offers did you make, right? Without that information, right, that's one side. That's what I'd look at first. What I have found is someone says, well, I've done this in the last 6 months. I have done no deals. I paid for marketing, and I still have limited funds. So, right? So they, when analyzing, they say, well, I sent 500 letters. Okay, sending 500 letters is not a test. I don't care if you've been at 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years. You send 500 letters, you're not going to, it's not enough to basically get it. And if you have limited funds, then there's two alternatives. One is free. That means you're calling everybody on Craigslist, or you're calling for sale by owner, you're calling people off Zillow, or if you're calling, or you can knock on pre-foreclosure doors like I did when I first got started, and like I did when I first got started. I hand wrote letters from my kitchen table, 25 a day, and I mailed them out every single week for 7 days straight. I mean, and I worked 7 days until I started getting deals. So I bought a list for $50, $100 or whatever, and I hand wrote letters every single day, hand wrote them. And I said, hey, my name's Sean. I'm an investor. I want to buy your house. If you're interested in your house, please call me. Boom, I stuck it. I stamped it. I sent it out myself. I went to the post office every single day. I set a goal of 25. I'm going to do 25 a day, right? And that I didn't have to pay anybody to do it. It wasn't 50 cents a letter, $1 a letter. I did it myself, right? I hand wrote them. I stuffed them and put them in envelopes. I sent them out myself. And guess what? I got deals, right? I got deals. So you have to look at two sides of the coin. Number one is how many pieces did you send? How many calls did you get? How many appointments did you go on? How many offers did you make? And if you sent less than 1,000, then no wonder, right? Now let's say I've sent 5,000 letters. I went on 80 appointments. I had a guy on here that says, I've sent 20,000 letters. I've went on 300 appointments. I've went on that. Well, listen, then it becomes the person, right? So now you look at the person. Well, what if the person doesn't shower? What if the person doesn't brush their teeth? What if you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's the case, but I can't tell on the other side of the coin the person, right? And let's say they have good hygiene, they look professional, they give you the feeling that you can buy a house, they're good with people. Do you see what I'm saying? You have to portray confidence to that seller that you can execute the deal. I've had people in our meetup groups come in and go, I don't know why I can't get a deal, But when I look at them, they're not dressed professionally. They, they're not really, they don't look like a professional person that could buy it, and they go, what's the problem? Well, look in the mirror, right? You gotta look in the mirror, and look. And do you look like a person that has the ability to purchase a house cash? If the answer is no, change it, right? Anthony Robbins always says, for things to change, you got to change. For things to get better, you got to get better. So what people do is come in, MJ Solomon, and they go, well, I think you should change 12K and update it. Well, when there's tons of people that are making tons of money from it and quitting their jobs and making 30,000, stuff like that, instead of looking, and they look at, well, instead of looking themselves in the mirror, what have they done, right? So then the other factor is their thoughts, right? So let's say they look professional, they look like they can buy a house cash, they look confident, stuff like that. The other side, the other part of that, and we're looking at you, and then there's actually the analytics, because the analytics don't lie. The analytics work. The analytics are proven it works. So to say that it doesn't work is a fallacy, right? It's not true. It works. The information works. The content works, and there's proof behind it. So now we have to look at the other side of the point. Does this person portray a person that could buy a house cash? If the answer is yes, good. You look in the mirror and you say, I could portray confidence that I could buy a house. Boom. Then the next question is you and your thoughts, right? If you have negative thoughts, meaning you're telling a story of, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe, you got to, this, that, and you're telling a story of maybe it doesn't work, and maybe I'm not the right person, and maybe I don't have what it takes, and maybe I'm saying the wrong thing, and maybe, this, that, and you have this negative story in your head about, doubt and not working, and this is not going to work for you, and that, all this stuff. Then I don't care how many people you talk to, how many offers you make, how many things you do, your brain is pulling you toward failure, even though your actions are trying to pull you toward success. When you get, just talk about, everyone says it's 80% mental, 20% basically technique, mechanics. 80% mental, 20% mechanics. So if it's 80% mental and 20% mechanics, how's your mentality? Are you spending an hour every morning and you're focused on gratitude, you're focused on appreciation, or you're focused on everything that's good that's happening in your life? Or you're focused on, or you're waking up in the morning, you don't have a morning ritual, you're not focused on, you're not filling yourself with gratitude and appreciation and love. If you're not doing that, then what happens is you might be going the wrong way. Your thoughts and mentality and your vibration of attraction is pulling you to failure when you have your actions are trying to push you to success. That's the hardest thing from my perspective that I have, is because people come in and I don't know who they are as a person, right? Do they look like a person that could buy a house cash? If not, for things to change, I got to change. For things to get better, I got to get better. Or where are their mental thoughts pulling them? Are they pulling the failure? So what we got to do is we got to get them to look like they can purchase house cash. And number two is they got to get their thoughts aligned, because it's 80% of the equation, where they are full of gratitude, appreciation, and now their thoughts and vibrations pulling them towards success, and now their actions pulling them to success, and bam, success happens, right? But if someone's conditioned to fail their whole life and conditioned to have this story, I'm too tired, it doesn't work, I don't have enough time, things don't work for me, and they have this skepticism, which basically is, I don't want to get my hopes up because I'm afraid if I'm going to fail. It's pulling them this way, negative, even though actions are going this way. And that's, again, we're going to talk about that on Monday. All right. Sweet Dave. Look at that. So David, so 250,016, looking at 500,007. So people go, well, it doesn't work. Maybe you should update your information. Maybe we shouldn't. A lot of people first off need to look in the mirror and say, hey, what I'm the variable. When you look in the mirror and you say, I am the variable, then you stop looking at blaming or I don't know, or maybe we should change this, maybe we should change that, because now it's an external thing. People don't like to look in the mirror and go, what if I'm the variable? I always look in the mirror. Am I the variable in this situation? And see, here's the thing, is that if I'm the variable, for things to get better, I gotta get better. For things to change, I gotta change. So what about me do I have to change? What about me for me, I took my eye off the ball. I looked in the mirror, right? I didn't blame all my staff. Oh my God, my staff, it's terrible. They screwed up and blah, blah, blah. We didn't have the profitability margin we wanted. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't do that. We looked at each one and how we could be more efficient, but we said, listen, I took my eye off. It was my fault. My fault, not theirs, my fault. I took my eye off the ball. I stopped watching, my fault. Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. It's 12:30. I've been rambling for about an hour and a half. So I apologize to keep you guys up on this call for too long. So cool. So I am going to jump off here. I've got a whole list of stuff to do, and we will talk to you. Make sure you register for that. It's going to be killer. It's going to be awesome. And I will talk to you guys later. And it's going to be fun. We're having a good time. And it's going to be an open conversation a lot like this, which is cool. So thank you guys so much for your time. I'm going to sign off. Take care. God bless.